All right, so we're, oops, go. Welcome back to part two in this series of how to travel and win. We're going to be going through the possibilities. So we're going to be opening up the door here to what's actually possible for you. So, quick review before we dive into that is number one, the problem that we face is that we're out of routine. Okay, so we start to overthink, we start to overcomplicate. Number two, we get into vacation mode and we start to kind of go all over the place. And that leads to problems three and four, which is you spend half the time thinking and planning around food. You're not really being present, and you're not really doing anything other than eating, right? Because you're constantly thinking about where am I going to eat or what am I going to eat. Number four, you believe that you should treat yourself to 3+ meals a day. And that kind of stems back into the vacation mode. So let's talk about the different possibilities now that you can are possible for you moving forward. So possibilities. Okay. Number one, you master the emotional side of traveling. Side of traveling. Okay. So you master the emotional side of traveling, specifically when it comes to food. Because a lot of people say, oh, I just love food. That's what I love. And I love to eat. And what ends up happening is we tend to eat what we feel like eating or what we want in the moment. And you spent the past 10, 20, 30, 40 years doing that exact thing. And so because of that, you actually ended up enrolling him in this program. And so when we go on vacation, we don't want to sit there and be in our feelings and what I want, right? We want to master the emotional side of eating, and we want to keep food dumb simple. Dumb, dumb simple. And I'm going to go through what that looks like in video 4 with the plan. Number 2, right? You master your habits and routines while on vacation. You become a master of yourself, right? What I like to say is this puts you in beast mode, not vacation mode, right? We do not want to be in vacation mode. We don't want to say, oh, I'm vacation Brian, right? That's no fun. We want to be in beast mode. We want to be Mr. Dialed in habits and routines, no matter whether you're in Hawaii or you're in Spain or you're at Disney. That's what we want, okay? Number 3, you pre strategize and execute. So when it comes to food, it's not like I'm asking I'm never going to ask you guys to like fly 12 meals down or anything along those lines, but there is a strategy. You got to pre-strategize your day well before we even get to that day, because if we don't, then inevitably, we start to operate from just like, what do I feel like eating? And then that turns into asking yourself constantly, what am I going to eat? What am I going to eat? Which leads to a ton of confusion. And a confused person is never happy, right? And a confused mind always goes for the easiest outcome. So we want to make sure that we're pre strategizing the entire vacation. I'm not asking you to sit there and say, I'm going to eat steak and potatoes over here and I'm going to eat chicken and broccoli over here. That's not what I mean, right? That's pre planning. We're talking about pre-strategizing here, okay? And so this way, your brain, right? I'm going to draw a quick brain here. Oh, I don't know if that's really a brain, right? We'll draw the brain stem so we really know. Has 100% availability to think about all the shit that really matters on a vacation. We realistically should not be thinking, oh, like, where are we going to eat all the time? Or what am I going to eat? And am I going to hit my macros or anything along those lines? Vacations are supposed to be about spending time with the kids and doing that stuff, right? So by having a pre strategy, food becomes a second thought and it starts to feel like second nature, right? And then the last possibility is you draw self esteem and respect, self-respect, from following through. Okay? You end up finishing out the vacation feeling better about yourself than you did when you first got started, right? Or when you first left. Because what does everybody do? Well, everybody goes and they get out of their routine, they get into vacation mode, they plan their entire vacation around food, and they believe that they should treat themselves. And so what ends up happening is this becomes a shame and guilt cycle, right? Where we just sit there and constantly go in circles over and over and over again, feeling shitty about ourselves, right? And then we end up dropping our standards down to zero, right? And we say, oh, well, it's not even worth working out because I'm going to eat French toast and then I'm going to go, and we just kind of end up fucking ourselves. Okay. And then we feel like shit and we come back and it's hard to get on the horse and it's hard to restart. And we're like, oh my God, like, ugh. But here's the thing, right? If you never feel like you're off track, then there's no feeling the need to get back on track. There's no kinetic start energy, right? You just come back. And because you didn't fuck yourself all vacation long, it's just another Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, whenever you land, when you're back home. It's just another day. And so when we talk about the principles here, right, one of the biggest principles is going to be implementing that specifically. So this way we don't finish our vacation in shame and guilt, like, oh man, like I know I said I was going to do these workouts and I said I was going to do this and I was going to do that and then I didn't and I just ate hamburgers and cheeseburgers and drank and all that stuff and then we feel like shit and then you avoid talking to me or talking to your coach, you stop coming to the group calls because you just feel bad about yourself. That's an inevitability, right? If we do not draw our self-esteem and respect from following through. But the possibility that you have for yourself, the door that we're opening here, is that we can now use a vacation as a launching pad. And when you start to execute on these things, I'm going to get into the principles next. When you start to execute on these things, it's amazing how much momentum you can actually have when you come back from a vacation versus feeling like, oh, I just got to get back on track, right? Because nobody's motivated if they sit there and face fuck themselves with alcohol and cheeseburgers and chips and trash for 6 days. Nobody comes back and is like, I can't wait to eat, steak and potatoes. It's just not how it works. So we want to make sure that we're operating from possibility, and we're going to open up that door here with principles in the next video. So that concludes this video. I'll see you in the next one.